Christian radio at that time, and this is in the way back in the early 70s, had been relegated to poor signals or only on the weekend or late at night, whatever. And so they said, if we could buy and operate radio stations in the largest cities, as you said earlier, half of the ears listening to radio in America are in the top 25 markets. And so they said, if we could go in partnership together, the two brothers-in-law, the two families, we could see that we would be able to build a platform for the gospel. So that was their vision. And the platform has grown from there. And the Lord has blessed that. Those of us who are here, not only because we love media, but because we love the Lord, are doing everything that we can to make sure that as the years pass, that mission will stay totally in focus with that original mission.
Hey, look out. It's Faith Talk Today. I'm Rick Probst. Hope you're having a fabulous Atlanta weekend. My next guest I've known for about 20 years, and we've talked a lot, but I've never really dug deep into the man. I'm talking about Alan Power. He is the president of broadcast media for Salem Media Group. And Salem Media Group, of course, the company that owns Faith Talk Atlanta and our new station, AM 920 here. We've got almost 90 stations around the U.S. there. We may talk about that in a bit. Salem Media Group. Alan, how are you?
Rick, I'm terrific. Thank you. What an honor to be with you. Clearly, you got to the bottom of the barrel of prospects for Faith Talk.
And I love listening to Alan. Let me tell you, I have heard Alan mostly in public as we do pastors' appreciation events or events, and Alan may speak. And he's quite the communicator, but he always brings humor, and he does it so well. But no, we didn't dig the bottom of the barrel. I think we're going to have one of the best interviews that we've had, because there's a lot you have lived a life, and by no means it's the end of your life. You've got plenty of years left, but you have done so many things that's fascinating. I've got to ask you though, do you still have that retro RV that you and Susan camp in? That's where I want to get. That's the most important thing for me right now.
Well, thank you for asking, and the answer is no. We had for a period of time, we had our little 1971 travel trailer.
Yes.
Vintage travel trailer that she had fixed up and named Buttercup. But with grandkids and taking care of parents and a lot of other things, we were just not camping. So we put that in the hands of somebody else who could get good use out of it. But we had a lot of fun with it.
That was an amazing RV. We would see that on Facebook, and I'm like, and I thought about that. You having kids and grandkids, there's not too many people you can squeeze into that little retro 1971 travel trailer.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was good for two, and that's about it.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I do want to talk about Salem. And Salem has just been mammoth over the years. I worked for Salem in San Diego back in the day in 1989. And I think, Alan, I may not have the number correct. We only had a few stations, maybe 12, maybe 20. I don't know. But the vision was always to have radio stations with teaching and talk ministry in every major city in America. And then when I moved, eventually found my way back to Atlanta, I was like, wow, look what Salem has been doing, just very busy. So I want to get just kind of dig into that in just a few, but let's talk about your career. You didn't just wake up one day and say, hey, I think I'll go work for Salem. You a legend of sorts in the country genre. You worked in Greenville, South Carolina. I don't know where the other places that you worked in country radio, but you worked there in Greenville and you did some amazing interviews. I remember you telling me, this was a few years back, George Jones called you on the last day, on the last broadcast that you had. You were moving along, and George Jones, and you just said it in the fly. It's like not, building it up. It was like, I was in Greenville, and George, my last day, George Jones called me, and then you were going, what? I said, wait a minute, what? George Jones called?
Good memory, Rick.
Yeah.
Well, There's not enough time on your show to regale you with my country radio stories, but I spent the first 24 years of my career in primarily country radio in Greenville, same
Yeah.
stations the whole
Okay.
time, which is very unusual. And then came to Atlanta with Salem. And in that period of time, I had the privilege of working with a lot of wonderful people who were country music legends. They were not personal friends of mine, but we had acquaintances down through the years. And so now what today, most of those folks would be considered classic country acts back in the day. But many of them, and some of them I interviewed because I actually in the 1980s, when country videos, music videos first started, I had a television show interviewing country artists and playing their videos. And then in the 90s, I had a Southern Gospel show on the CBS affiliate in the Greenville Spartanburg market. And so I did sort of the same thing there. So country and gospel music were a part of my growing up years and my early broadcast years. And the story with George Jones. I mean, I had been with George Jones a number of times down through the years, and he was one of my favorites. And so, as I was leaving to come to Salem to Christian radio, big change for me after being in the same place. My morning team on that country station came to me on the day before my last day, and they said, we need you to be available from this time to this time. We want to have a meeting with you. And I said, no problem. So they came and brought me and led me to the studio. And they said, all right, you're going to get to do your last interview in country radio before you go to Christian radio. And the person is on the line. This is before we had video conferencing. So they're on the phone, and you just get to guess who it is by saying hi. And I knew immediately his voice. I said, George, is that you? And sure enough, it was George Jones, the possum. And they were so kind to set it up for me. And George was so gracious. And I have an audio recording of that. So it's a great memory.
We're talking with Alan Power. He's the president of broadcast media at Salem Media Group. And so many things to talk about. Before you started in radio, what was it that bit you about radio? Were you just most radio guys, avid listeners, because I'm a little bit older, mine was 60s, listen to the 60s AM guys, country and rock and roll and 70s. So what bit you? How'd you get bit?
I think I was fascinated with broadcasting, with radio and television from as long as I can remember as a young kid. I got really enamored with being on the air and radio. And you said it. It was still the days of AM radio and top 40 and so forth. And so I that's what I wanted to do. And when I was 14 years old, I was bound and determined to get a summer job. I was too young to get a summer job. But in my most mature 14-year-old voice, I talked my way into a summer job at WESC in Greenville, South Carolina.
Wow. And
the short version of that story is 14 years later, the man who ran those stations, when he retired, he'd been there 41 years. He gave me that first job, saw something in me. And so at age 28, as he retired, I succeeded him as general manager of those stations. And I was in that job until I came to work for Salem in 2000. So I've got to stop talking about this because it really makes me sound old. But the truth is, if the Lord allows me to stay in this business another year, next June, it'll be 50 years in this business.
Gracious.
Yeah. So I've been very blessed, and I've done it all. Now I have responsibility for cities all over the map, but in terms of where I have lived and worked, it's been in two cities. It's been in Greenville and in the last 25 years here in Atlanta.
Two great cities. I was born in Greenville, by the way, and here I am back in Atlanta, lived here in the 60s. Alan Power, president of broadcast media, Salem. Well, let's shift gears, Alan. Let's talk about Salem. We know that you went from country radio, a station, and you did quite a bit, morning show, GM, and then you segued into or to Salem here in Atlanta. What got you here?
Well, it's an interesting story. Again, I'm going to give you the Cliff's Notes version, the short version of it. But there was a period of time in the mid 1990s where I became rather disillusioned, as much as I loved broadcasting. With the consolidation of broadcasting and companies' ownership changes. The last 5 years I was in Greenville, our stations changed ownership 4 times. And my job, I stayed in the same job through all 4 of those changes. And suddenly I was managing, in particular, a rock station that it was not a reflection of my values and not something that I was particularly proud of. And so I thought, well, Lord, maybe it's time for me to get out of this. I was very involved in the community. I had a presence on just about any board or commission you could think of, other than I never ran for elective office. And so I thought, well, maybe it's time for me to get into nonprofit work. And I pursued that, and the doors would sort of open and then they'd close. And in that period of time, I had a friend and former competitor from Greenville who a few years earlier had come to work for Salem, this company, Salem. And so I thought, well, Christian radio, I love Christian radio. I was listening to the Billy Graham station up in Black Mountain on a regular basis, just personally. And so I reached out to him. He said, you'd be perfect for Salem, because Salem is exactly wired for who you are and what you do and the experience you have. And so I had a brief conversation with them. And there really was not an opening. I didn't feel the Lord was moving me. I felt like even though I was restless to move, I felt the Lord was teaching me some things, preparing me. So a couple of years went by, and then out of the blue, Salem called and said, the last thing I had said to them in my first brief conversation was, I'm surprised you don't have stations in Atlanta, because why not? Perfect for a company like Salem. Right. And they said, well, Atlanta is a tough market to get into. We'd like to have stations there, and we think one day we will have stations there. I said, well, if you ever buy any stations in Atlanta, call me. I might be interested, because my parents lived in Northeast Georgia. I was born in Northeast Georgia. So that would have been a comfortable idea, and they did. And one thing led to another. And after a lot of prayer for about 6 weeks, we came to Atlanta, and I was the first general manager that Salem had in Atlanta. And I think we had 6 employees when I got here. And so very, very blessed, and not something I was looking for, but wow, what a blessing. And now I've been with Salem 25 years.
Alan Power, president of broadcast media here at Salem. When Alan started and the FM, Salem acquired the FM here, he actually hired Kevin and Taylor, who are now going to be inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame. How cool is that?
Very well deserved.
Yes.
They are 2 of the best hires I ever made. And Rick, I can't take personal credit for hiring you, but you're also one of those great hires. But I can take credit for hiring for Salem, because I did. And just love all of those folks. I mean, I've been in my corporate role, hard to believe, for really about 20 years outside of the radio station, but still have so many great relationships with the team here in Atlanta.
Hey there. If you're enjoying Faith Talk Today, make sure that you click the subscribe button to our YouTube channel and give this video a thumbs up. How's that? Yeah, and help us reach more people, will you? And catch the full audio podcast wherever you listen. Just search Faith Talk Today. New episodes get dropped every Monday morning. So thanks for listening. Now back to the conversation.
Love that. Alan Power with us. Let's talk about the vision. Let's fast forward. Here we are, 2025. As we look ahead, has the vision changed? How has it changed for the better, you think?
Well, let me just give you the very quick history of Salem Media Group. Some folks may know, but others may not. Salem Media Group was founded by 2 brothers-in-law who met at Bob Jones University in Greenville, South Carolina, Ed Atzinger and Stuart Epperson. Stuart Epperson married Ed Atzinger's sister, so they all 3. Nancy Epperson now was Nancy Atzinger. And so they met all 3 in college at Bob Jones University. By the way, Ed Atzinger rode the train across the country to Bob Jones University with John MacArthur. John, I think, was a year older maybe than Ed, but they go back that far to the early 1960s, and obviously we're all saddened that John has gone to be with the Lord. In fact, in a couple of weeks, I'll be at his funeral service and memorial service, and so they together. The Epperson family really was in radio first. Ed was a teacher at LA City College, but an entrepreneurial spirit. And so the two of them separately had radio stations, and they decided, Christian radio at that time, and this is in the way back in the early 70s, had been relegated to poor signals or only on the weekend or late at night, whatever. And so they said, if we could buy and operate radio stations in the largest cities, as you said earlier, half of the ears listening to radio in America are in the top 25 markets. And so they said, if we could go in partnership together, the two brothers-in-law, the two families, we could see that we would be able to build a platform for the gospel. And to put it in perspective, this is in 1974. They started in Oxnard, California. We still have that radio station. But this is before Focus on the Family. This is before Insight for Living. This is before Grace to You. And literally programs like that were put together to match this new format. The only programs back then, there were some like Through the Bible with J. Vernon McGee was already there, and there were others that I wasn't around then, so I can't name. So that was their vision, and the platform has grown from there. And now it's not only radio, now it's internet. When you go to sites like BibleStudyTools.com or Christianity.com or GodTube.com, watching videos, that is Salem. Down through the years, we expanded. We figured out that the number 2 station many Christian radio listeners listened to was often news talk radio, conservative news talk radio. So we moved into that genre, and then the Salem Radio Network, and we syndicate programming there, both Christian and conservative. And so between all of that, and most recently video with the Salem News Channel, which is on over-the-top television, and the Salem Podcast Network. So Ed and Stu were pioneers. Ed and Stu were never afraid to take risks, never afraid to try new technology. And the Lord has blessed that. And back to your original question, those of us who are here, not only because we love media, but because we love the Lord, are doing everything that we can to make sure that as the years pass, that mission will stay totally in focus with that original mission.
President of Broadcast Media, Alan Power, with us, and what a delight. We could spend hours talking. We don't have hours. I wish we did, but we don't. But I do, Alan, want to talk about, and some people know, some people don't, but you are an amazing Bible teacher. You have been at the First Baptist Church Woodstock there for years and years, and you have a Sunday school class that is there. And my boss, my media boss, Val Carolyn, who is the GM here in Atlanta and also vice president, mentioned that even the pastor goes to Alan's Bible study. Now, I'd be sweating bullets, Alan, if the pastor showed up at my Bible study, or even you for that. But let's talk about where did you get? I know you were brought up in a pastor's home. Reverend Power was from I've heard you say this, an amazing pastor, a leader, an amazing dad, and a lot of impartation there into your life in so many ways, not just the ministry, but just his love and his care and his leadership, being just a fantastic dad, father. But tell me, how did you get into that? Is that something that, like radio, it just bit you and you started studying and reading? I know you love Tozer. I know you love so many great communicators and writers, but how did you do that?
Well, I first started teaching a Bible study class, a Sunday school class, when we still lived in South Carolina. We were very involved in our church there, and I was a deacon, ordained there as a deacon. And my wife, Susan, and I led a couples class of those our age. And so we were doing that when we left to come to Atlanta. And in Atlanta, I was just so busy with launching these radio stations that I just couldn't squeeze that in. Certainly our kids were very involved in church. And when we first came to Atlanta, we were Johnson Ferry Baptist Church, fabulous church,
Yes.
whose pastor now is the son of our music director at our church in South Carolina many years ago. So I watched him grow up. And then we moved a little closer to Woodstock, and that's when we joined First Baptist Woodstock 22 years ago. And so I had that experience, but I had not planned on, I've always at heart been a communicator. I think you were very generous in your comments about my skills as a Bible study teacher. I'm just, my theory is I learned the text for me, I teach me, and then I just share with others what I learned, because I'm the one who needs it probably worse than anybody. But I do enjoy it. It's a joy, and studying is a joy. It's not just about getting up and communicating. That's easy for me. I've done that since I was a kid. It's the study that's important to me. So about 16 years ago, Susan and I joined a Bible study class, and it's hard for a Bible study teacher to be in a Bible study class. Just humanly speaking, you can't help yourself. Well, I wouldn't have used that illustration, or I might have done this or that. And we joined a class with a teacher who was very different in style from me, and we loved it. He was fabulous, and we were enjoying it so much. And in about 3 months, his job moved him out of state, and he said, "Would you consider taking the class?" And I said, "No, because they don't know me. I'm brand new. Why would, And we prayed, but I will pray about it. And we prayed about it. And so that was 16 years ago last month. And the Lord has blessed. And I do enjoy studying the Word of God, preparing to teach. I'm probably a little overkill. I publish my notes to the class, and so they know exactly where we're going in the study. And we have been blessed. Our class actually grew coming out of COVID. We were online with video. We only missed one Sunday during COVID. Every other Sunday we were online, and we accumulated new people who didn't have a class to go to online. And so now in an average Sunday morning, we have about 60 or 70 folks that gather together. And yes, our lead pastor, that is pretty intimidating, but he's a fabulous young man, Jeremy Morton, who's been our pastor now for about 6 years. We love him and his family to death. And he said, "I want to join an 8 o'clock class. I want to participate in an 8 o'clock class." And so he came to us, and what a blessing. So we're very blessed by that.
Yeah, Pastor Jeremy, I think we talked to a few years back. We had on the show. Yeah, I think he had just taken the position, or it had been maybe a year or so, and just have heard so many good things about not only him but First Baptist Church in Woodstock, which is a legendary church. Folks that move to Atlanta, they'll talk about First Baptist Church Woodstock. It's like, how did you know? Well, it's just have done so many things in the community. Let's talk about your influence. Obviously, your dad influenced you in so many ways, but who else, Bible teachers or preachers, would you say really influenced you that you not only enjoy, but you pass along maybe quotes?
Well, what a blessing we have had in working for Salem to be exposed to some of the best communicators of the gospel. My dad was a very humble but very serious Bible teacher, so that's a good starting point. He said to me one day, "Son, you would have made a great preacher." Problem is, I wasn't called to be a preacher. I was called to be a broadcaster, but at least he was commenting on that talent.
Yeah.
And I treasure. I have some metal file boxes full of sermon outlines going back to the 1960s that I inherited from my dad. As far as influences, Chuck Swindoll is just one of my favorites on and off the platform. I've had the opportunity to spend some time with Chuck and with Cynthia, his wife, and some of his kids, and so he's one of my heroes. John MacArthur, who we mentioned, one of the finest biblical scholars. Certainly Billy Graham. Mr. Graham had such an influence on so many people, and so I could name others, and I'll start Charles Stanley certainly had a great influence on me, for sure. J. Vernon McGee, even though he was gone before I got into Christian radio, his teaching lives on with the Bible Bus. And then today, fabulous communicators today, like Alistair Begg and our friend Alan Jackson up in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and Robert Jeffress at First Baptist Dallas, and on I could go. So I've been influenced by so many. And then you mentioned Tozer. Tozer is one that I really enjoy reading and quoting. And our friend R.C. Sproul, who went to heaven so many years ago now, but I had a little opportunity to spend some time with R.C. And so many great stalwarts of the faith have influenced me greatly.
Someone else you hired, a very good friend of mine that I worked with for years, Dan Radcliffe, and what a great hire he was back in the day, and I still stay in contact with him. I miss him every day, and I love him. But we would, when we would have an event and you would speak, we would always bet, okay, is he going to use a Tozer quote or who will it be? And Dan usually 100% of the time said he definitely will use Tozer. And one year, I think you started off with someone else, and forgive me, I forget the quote and who it was by. It was great, but you wiggled a Tozer in there, and we both looked at each other.
Tozer, huh?
What's that?
I said I worked my way to Tozer. You remember more than you and Dan were keeping up better than I was. I love Dan to death. He's another, just like you and so many of that team, just fabulous human beings that I've gotten to work with. And the most important thing, I love quotes from great scholars, and I still do that in my teaching. But the most important thing is to quote the Scripture.
Yeah.
Scripture, Bible study should be Scripture teaching other Scripture to us. And that's what I attempt to do.
That's so good. Alan Power, president of broadcast media, the Salem Media Group. Alan, we've run out of time, sadly. So much I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you about the door there to the Greenville auditorium that you got a hold of with so many country artists that went through there. But you know what? We're going to have to make another time and just dig into some more of just your life and the future of Salem as we continue to keep on keeping on. We don't slow down. I can tell you that for sure. We continue to move forward. And as you mentioned, with technology, I have seen Salem just jump on it. And it's so refreshing because historically Christian radio has not always jumped on things that it should have to continue to be strong and courageous in proclaiming the gospel of Jesus Christ. Alan, love you. Appreciate your leadership. You're an amazing man. Love to Susan. And hope you get away. Here we are in August. Hope you get away for some relaxation for a vacation. So good to see you. Alan Power, president of broadcast media. What a great interview. If you want to hear the interview in its entirety or see it, you can check out our YouTube channel or go to FaithTalkAtlanta.com. Next week, another great guest on Faith Talk Today. Have a good week. I'm Rick Probst. See ya.
Hey, that's it for this episode of Faith Talk Today. But wait, there is more. You can go ahead and click the next video and keep watching videos and share them. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and to the Faith Talk Today podcast. And we'd love to connect with you online. Just follow us at Faith Talk Atlanta. We're on all the socials. Hey, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Faith Talk Today.